this fun. Yesterday, we're at a Frank Gehry.
Today, Schindler. Now we're out here at the Van Dekker residence from 1940, Rudolf Schindler, and we're in Woodland Hills. When this was built, there's some great old vintage photos of this place. There was nothing out here. It was like bean fields or wheat fields or something, just totally agricultural land in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, this one's got a lot of history for you, right? I mean, you tell us about your experience with it.
Well, I was hired by the second owner who had been here for decades. He had passed away and his children owned it. The daughter was really my client. And when I got here, it was such a ruin that when we listed it for sale, people would call about the house under construction in Woodland Hills because it looked so deconstructed. It didn't seem like it was a finished house. And we put the word out there in the preservation community, and a student of Judith Shine's, the Schindler scholar at then Cal Poly Pomona, went down to the city and registered it as a historic landmark just as we put it under contract, which was not good.
Well, why wouldn't that be good though?
What happened was that we had a dream team, you know, Josh Garrell, who knows a lot about architecture, a money guy, and Jeff Fink, the architect contractor who has restored Schindler's and other significant architecture, put it under contract. And then when it became a landmark, then the city was their business partner and they were overlooking every decision about how to restore this house. And so this is a copper roof. And because it was 1940, we were in the middle of World War II. So Schindler specified a copper roof, but there was no copper available. So this is a really thin copper roof. It's almost like tin foil, aluminum foil, thin. And the city just was dictating all of the specifications about what had to be done on the exterior. And so those owners just threw a blue tarp over it and met Frank Gamwell, the current owner, at a party and basically sold it in a handshake at a party.
Wow, wow. I like the story you were just telling me that when it was raining, it would rain inside of the house, essentially. And so
Yep.
to Frank's credit, he's really brought it back.
Oh my God, it's so fortunate that this house fell into Frank Gamwell's hands because he's a builder and he has taken this from a ruin, literally. When I first showed it to this group of collectors and their agents, it was raining in the house. And he has done so much for this house.
Well, let's talk about the partie. You know the house really well. Let's talk about the partie, talk about the concept. What is the overall theme behind the home? Would you
I
say,
mean, to me, this
architecturally?
is one of those things, back to that quote that Julius Schulman was being asked by the publicist Julie Taylor why he chose Soriano. And he said about Schindler that if you hired Schindler, you didn't know what you were going to get. And I feel like this is an example of that, that this to me is a country farmhouse from Europe. You know, it feels very English, old English or Austrian, you know, Schindler's home country. And it's got this stone, the wood siding, the way the roof is articulated. Those fireplaces are really old Inglenook kind of, you know, the one in the basement, the two back to back. There are a lot of back to back fireplaces, but those two in the basement feel like it's like the Hobbit house, you know?
Yeah, but the two exemplary things that, for me at least, are all of the built-ins and the way he makes use of space, and then these outdoor, what were you calling them? Outdoor bedrooms, like
Yeah, the
like
sleeping porches.
yeah, the sleeping porches, like he did in
Yep.
Kings Road.
Kings Road, and that goes back to Green and Green in Pasadena and people coming out here at the turn of the last century to take the cure for things like tuberculosis. And they wanted to breathe the desert air, and people could sleep outside on that porch or several other outdoor sleeping porches here.
Yeah,
And
so the lot's 20,000 square feet, so plenty of space. And then you were describing, the reason I brought that up is because you've got plenty of space for this outdoor kitchen that what were you calling it?
yeah, the garden kitchen, you know,
Garden kitchen.
I mean, the kitchen garden. And
Yeah,
so that goes back to like Thomas Jefferson and really probably very ancient ideas. The idea that you would have herbs and other fresh vegetables growing just outside the kitchen and you would go harvest them as you were making your meal.
yeah.
And so that's that elemental stuff that I love about Schindler, that it's like earth, air, fire, and water again. A bunch of fireplaces. It's rooted in the landscape. You've got this kitchen garden, all these really elemental, old, primal needs that we have are getting fulfilled in this very cutting edge piece of architecture. Can you imagine seeing this thing in 1940?
No, yeah,
Yeah.
he was called the space architect, right? And so
Yeah.
you would look at this and think of that.
Right. I mean, on one hand, it's sort of a country farmhouse. On the other hand, it's sort of like a spaceship, right, that landed out here.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so,
Well, let's take them inside. I mean, I want to show them all these outdoor spaces that he's incorporated. You know, I was just telling you, I'm looking at this section here, but it's really nice because where our film guy, Orlando, is, you've got this compression here, then you come out into this remarkable space, you look back, and very Schindler, like you could have an A-frame roof and something really easy to build, but nope, he's gonna change directions and change roof lines and, you know, really make it that space architecture that we're talking about.
yeah, that's a good point. You know, Schindler worked with Frank Lloyd Wright, obviously. I mean, he came here from Austria to work with Frank Lloyd Wright and came here to work on the textile block houses. And so that compression and release that we love to talk about, you feel it at the entry, you feel it here, you feel it in a number of spaces, even within individual rooms where there's a soffit that comes down to 7 feet and then it pops up to a 2-story volume.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he was so playful, and like this feels like the kind of architecture you can't really design this in drawings. You know, he was a really active tool belt wearing architect that was on site, and I'm sure he saw a lot of opportunities in the framing here. And I'm sure he worked on this in model because this kind of 3-dimensionality, these section cuts are so complicated that you can't draw this really.
No, we talk about that about Schindler all the time. And the idea being that he probably had like 4 establishing sheets,
Right.
and then was probably just out here all the time, changing things, revising, you know, maybe even adding windows and things like that, built-ins as he went along the whole way through.
And this is one of my favorite examples of that where, you know, you said, is that a mirror? And it could be, but no, it's a piece of glass, a huge piece of glass that is actually the building envelope. But there's another piece of glass beyond that that is the building envelope for this bedroom den office.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's an outdoor space that
Mm-hmm.
also has a glass wall. So there are these optical illusions about where does the building end and begin and what's indoors and outdoors. And, you know, so this was early modernism. This is 1940. And he was really establishing that connection to the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, it's really special spatially. I mean, honestly, like you put your hand up here,
Yeah.
double height space,
Right.
but then the way that he uses space, you cut a section through this, and you were saying that this is actually like a little office, like a built-in, he's got built-ins that creates a little office-like space for the loft. You come through compressed, and then in the dining room area, a slight release.
That's right. This pops up to 8 feet. This feels like it's almost like 6'8". It's barely,
Sure.
you know, 7 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. This isn't 7 feet. This is like 6'6", 6'8".
Right.
And then you've got all these wonderful original built-ins that have been restored, this original floor, the original masonry, the copper roof, the copper above the fireplace. So the owner's done a really good job introducing new materials and finishes, but keeping the original plan and bringing in new materials that complement the old.
Right.
This may be it. So
Yeah.
this is for sale.
Currently listed for 4.5 million.
4.5 million. It's on a huge lot. It's about half an acre. It's, what are we calling it?
3,700 square feet, I think she was
And
saying.
change.
And
There's like
change.
a catering kitchen next to the garage. So there's some additional square footage. I've lost track of the number of bedrooms.
Yeah, you could kind of get lost in here.
But this isn't about square footage or bedrooms and bathrooms. This is about pristine, pedigreed architecture, landmark status, Mills Act tax benefits, and we'd love to represent you on the buy. If you'd like to see it by appointment, give us a ring, DM us, email us. You know how to find us.
Yep, give us a call.
All right.